Social media photographer. I can't all the shows.
What calling me?
I'm gonna try to and I can No, I didn't know what you were looking at. I was did it kill you? Ain't it good? It's not that sour either.
Are you about ready to get rolling, folks? The music. Well, good evening. Good evening. My name is Ronald Mason, president of the University of the District of Columbia, the public institution of higher learning in and for the nation's capital. Welcome this evening. This is the second annual gathering of the ANCs. We expected a lot more, and we hope they'll still keep coming in. We had a surprise event at the library in Cleveland Park for the chancellor, one of these public hearings. So we don't know if that took away a little bit from the crowd tonight, but you know, we are a small but formidable group, and we'll walk you through where we've gone since the last time we got together about a year ago, and then talk about where we're going to go in the future. Let me first see who's here. Who are ANC folks here? Just raise your hand. Okay, good. And then who is working at UDC? Raise your hand. All right, and how many students here? Raise your hand. Well, so the students outnumber everybody, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing, but I'd suggest that you make sure you get your food pretty quickly because they have a way of...
We're poor. We're poor and hungry.
Because they're hungry, right, they're poor and hungry. But let me thank them for being here. You can look at the sashes and see who our leadership crews are, yes. Fine young people. We have Drew Gray, who for the first time in history is Mr. UDC in the top 10. Of the Ebony, you can see the shirts they have on, hashtag UDC First Choice, and we're going to show you a video that explains what that hashtag is all about. In fact, I think now it's time for the video.
Call on UDC, the business community, and the leaders on the stage to affirm a path to UDC's ascendance as a first choice 2-year and 4-year institution for DC's best and brightest.
So that was the mayor's inaugural address this year. Well, you heard what she said, which means that we've come a long way in terms of the eyes of the leadership of the city when it comes to how they see the university and the potential that we have. So what we're going to do today is kind of recap. Yeah, students, take a seat. Make yourself at home. Because this is interesting information for you too. So we're going to sort of recap where we were last year, what's happened since last year, and what we're looking to do this year. Now remember, last year when we invited the ANCs here, we told them we were starting the campaign for UDC because after a conversation with the mayor, I told her that we understand that universities don't have natural constituencies. We're not like K-12 systems that have parents, and a lot of parents who can always make a lot of noise when something's not going right with the K-12 system. But we told her we were going to go out and build a constituency for the university to support her in what she wanted to do, which was find a way to put UDC in the district's budget. Because we really hadn't had any budget increases for years. And so we went about the business of doing that, and one of the things we asked the ANCs to do was to understand what we were talking about, what our plan was, and then to send resolutions to the mayor so that she would know that the community that we serve supports the plan and vision that we have for the institution. The other thing that we were doing while we were going around the city and talking to different civic groups and ANCs, but which, by the way, if you want me to come and talk to your specific ANC, just let us know and we'll be there. But we were also gathering information to finalize our strategic plan. And so at the end of the process, two things happened. One, because of your efforts, the mayor actually increased the university's budget for the first time in years. And that was a good thing, yes. And she said at the State of the Union, State of the District address last year, which was on our campus, and which, by the way, will be on our campus this year again for the third year in a row. She said then that she was making a first installment, putting up the first installment on the equity imperative, completing the pathways to the middle class. And then this year, as you heard, she said she wants us to be an institution of first choice. So I'd say good work for the first year. Let me walk you through where we are today. And then at the end, and I'm going to say this now and then say it again at the end, we did such a good job last year that we need to make an even bigger effort this year. And so at the end of the presentation, we're going to ask you to go back and talk to your ANCs and see if you can get another resolution to the mayor so that she knows how much you love us. And so just to recap, we talked about how the district wants to be a resilient, sustainable, and equitable community, but there's a lot of inequity as far as the different members of the district. So if you look at median household incomes, there's a big gap between white incomes and black incomes. If you look at median salaries, you can see the difference between the average salary and what it is with a bachelor's degree and what it is with a high school degree. So you really do need that bachelor's degree to have a chance of getting to the middle class. And then if you look at who has the college degrees, 92% of white residents, but only 25% of black residents. So you can see who needs the pathway to the middle class, and it's in the interest of everybody in the district that everybody have a pathway to the middle class. And then you look at the institution that is that pathway, the university that we serve. And UDC has 65% of its students coming from the District of Columbia. 59% are African American, 10% Latino, 40% economically disadvantaged. It's actually 46%. And then, of course, all of our workforce development students, that is non-credit bearing training programs. Those are 100% residents, and it's free to every district resident. Y'all with me so far? Okay, let me see if I skipped one. Hold on. And so here's the punchline. If you look at what is invested in public education, the national average for the states is about 5.8%. And then you can see Maryland a little less and Virginia a little less, but then you look at the District of Columbia, and it's 1.1% of the district's local fund budget goes into public higher education. And then at the end of the day, if the plan envisioned in the equity imperative is fully funded, that 1.8% still only goes up, that 1.1% still only goes up to 1.8%. So at the end of the day, you know, UDC will still be a higher education bargain for the residents of the district. And so in the equity imperative, we had these three big goals. To establish UDC as the public university model for urban student success. The moral of the story there is that we're claiming the urban space. In the next 30 to 40 years, 80% of the world is going to be urban. There are going to be a lot of people living in very small places with a lot of issues that need to be understood and resolved. We want to get out ahead of that curve, and within that context, urban students, both in America and internationally, are going to have special learning and educational needs and challenges that we want to figure out and be able to enable them to reach their highest levels of human potential. We want to do it at high levels of production. We have goals that we've set over the next 4 and then 10 years where we will double the number of degree recipients, workforce certified workers that we produce for the district, and then graduate transformative leaders. And the moral of the story there is that you know, in this day and age, nobody has one job for their entire life. People change jobs 5, 6, 7 times, sometimes change careers. And what's important is that they learn how to learn. And so by the time we finish reorganizing our academic programs with our new Chief Academic Officer here, stand up so they can see you, Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence Potter just arrived. You know, we're going to be taking a different approach to learning that we think will put us in a position to show the rest of the nation what institutions of higher education should be all about. And our big vision is that every student that walks through our door will reach their highest level of human potential. And so here's how the money looks. When we put the plan together and we costed it out, we knew that we needed 71.4 million in operating investment to fully fund the equity imperative. And that was going to go mostly to salaries, for example, market-based compensation. We know some of our faculty are paid 30 to 40% less than market. And so we can attract them here, but it's hard to keep them here if they're good, because when they do well, all the other universities in the area just, you know, steal them from us. Same thing with staff. And, you know, we costed it out and we asked for the money to pay for that over 4 years. And then on the NPS, which is non-personnel side, we need to train our folks, get our skills up. If we get money for our land grant operations, the federal government will match it. And on the workforce side, we do provide it free to every resident. We actually subsidize the cost of that because the district doesn't pay for the entire cost, and we have to take it out of our budget. And then on the IT side, that is information technology, you know, our servers and technology infrastructure is about 20 years old. And if you ask the students, you know, they're already nodding their heads about access to, you know, wireless internet and everything else. We just have our challenges. And as a university where everything is technology based, you know, it's difficult to be what we want to be without fixing that problem. So that's what we asked for, and overall. And then for the first year, we requested a total of $16.2 million for operations and got $9.5 million. So you can see the difference there, first of all, but then of that 16 million, we needed 14.2 million in recurring money. That is, as an increase in our base budget, but we actually got 4.8 million. And then we wanted one time of 2.6, but we got 4.7 of one-time money. And so what that means is that if it's not recurring, then we can't count on it for the next year, which means we can't put it into salaries, which is our biggest issue. Now, we're not complaining because, you know, since I've been here 3.5 years, and for several years before that, we didn't get any increase in our budget. So this is progress. And we're very thankful to the mayor for, you know, putting us on the right track with that first installment, right? And we were able to use the money that we got to do certain things. We did, you know, make a good offer to our faculty, did some training. And then the big one is that most of you from the neighborhood know the Fannie Mae building, 4250. And so we were able to lease that, and we're expecting, when you see the next slide, to get some money to buy it next year. And when we buy that, then we can make that our brand new modern learning center. We can move 2 colleges into that building, and then we can tear down building 41, which we've already had to empty because it's just falling apart, 50-year-old wires and pipes. And then the district wants to build its district archives over there, which would be very nice for the university to have those resources there. And then we can turn building 44, which is on Van Ness Avenue, into our first student apartments, which is really important. We don't have any student apartments, and from a learning point of view, it would be a much better situation for our students. And then on the capital side, we had asked for 724, we got 147. And the 147 million, you know, it's spaced over 4 years, or 6 years. And the way they did it for us was they put most of the money in the 5th and 6th year. So we have enough money to do some planning and some thinking and some emergency repairs. But the big ask for this year is that they put some additional money for us to buy 4250. And then we want to plan to expand Bacchus, to move a lot of our community colleges, facilities out there. And then looking at the Ward 7 folks here, they had brought us a great idea about a community college facility over in Ward 7, which, you know, we'll see how that goes. But we're always open to the possibilities. And we told you about the numbers of, you know, what we think we can produce. This is what they are. And at the end of the day, in 10 years, we can produce 8,000 workforce graduates and 5,000 industry certifications per year, and then you can see the degree completions at the top. And so, if we can do this, this is what an equitable middle class would look like in the district. You know, representative of every constituent group, each with pathway to success and the ability to reach their highest level of human potential. We have the plan. The plan is parsed out among all of the vice presidents and chiefs at the university. We track it on a regular basis. We have goals that we report to the board on quarterly. I'm accountable for producing the results, and if I don't produce the results, the board holds me accountable for doing or not doing that. And so while we're not perfect yet, we feel like we're making progress. We know where we want to go. And the ability to succeed is tied to the resources we get from the district. And so if we can't get what we ask for, we have to adjust the goals and slow down the plan. And so what we're trying to do this year is get the mayor to put us where we wanted to be at the end of the second year by catching up on the budget and making the second installment equal to what would have been the first and second installment in the original plan. So that's the idea, and that's the ask. Now, there should be some materials around somewhere, like a draft resolution or something. Do we have that, John? I'm looking at Tanya or Lee.
We're going to be following up with all the commissioners that attended this evening, as well as those at RSVP expressing their support, and we're going going to be sending out the link for the live stream of tonight along with the draft resolution.
Good. And so, you know, people pay attention to what you say. Your words have great weight, as you know. And it worked last year, and we're asking you to work with us this year. We'll come to your home sites and give you whatever information you need. We have draft resolutions that we can hand out for you to take with you, or we can send it to you electronically. And, you know, we want you to understand what role we serve for the community, for the district, and for the future of the district, and want you to work with us to make it happen. So that's the idea. Now answer any questions you may have, because you always have questions. So, what are the questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. While she's coming up, let me mention one other thing. We started a really good conversation last year with some of the ANC members about how UDC can support the ANCs, and it ranged from everything like a ANC Leadership Institute to an annual ANC conference on our campus here. We haven't really been able to pull all of that together, but we have talked to John Gottlieb, Simon Gottlieb. I did talk to the new ANC members that just got elected. And so we're ready, willing, and able to do that work. We're just going to have to get some ready, willing, and able ANC members to help us think it through and make it happen. Yes, ma'am.
So first, I want to say congratulations on the vision and the progress you've made so far. It's fantastic. You came to speak to the new commissioners during our ANC training that Mr. Gottlieb led, and I got excited about it. I'm also curious about the next step so that when students graduate from UDC, that they had the opportunity to work within this city, purchase housing within this city, and contribute to the economy and the culture of Washington, D.C.
That's a good question. You know, I'm going, it's good. I'm going testify. I don't know what you all think of the new chancellor nominee for the D.C. Public Schools. But I'm going to testify for him tomorrow, because we've talked and we understand that the pipeline starting from the community up through the bachelor's degree needs a lot of work, right? And then after the bachelor's degree, the pipeline needs a lot of work, right? And so between him and the Deputy Mayor of Education and the mayor, who has recently, explain it this way, the city is divided into clusters, right? I'm part of the education cluster. So it's me, it's the public schools, it's the charter schools, but the mayor's recently added the Workforce Investment Council and the Office of Employment Security, right? And so we've been talking about how to make that pipeline complete. I think that's where it starts, to think it through from beginning all the way to the goals that you set out. It's going to take some work, though, I have to say. And then, you know, there's issues about housing finance and affordability and everything else. But it's all on the table and it's all in the conversations. And you got the right people, I think, now in the conversation. And so, you know, keep pushing. Keep pushing the conversation. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Mr. O'Leary.
Good evening. My name is Fraser O'Leary, and I've been a Firebird since 1981. I started teaching here in 1983. I was the last baseball coach at UDC. Nobody in here even knew they had a team, I'm sure, but we did. And I retired from Cardozo High School in 2017 after 47 years in the DCPS. And I was recently elected to the State Board of Education. For those of you in Ward 4, I'm your representative. And I'm a UDC fan. I know what UDC, I mean, we're in this beautiful setting right here that didn't exist forever. And we have a package that will sell, but you have to sell the package. all right? Because UDC's reputation precedes itself. And so you have to change people's minds about what UDC offers. Because if you believe in UDC, then you know that what it offers, all right? And we can, as a community, but as President Mason says, you've got to talk to people. You know, I know that his vision, and we've had a conversation, is to get into the community and to have students come to this room, all right? Because there wasn't a room for them to come. UDC didn't have a house to show off, all right? And now they have a house to show off. But you have to spread the word, all right? Because the price of UDC, everything that UDC has to offer is something that is of value to this city. But the people of the city have to convince the politicians. You don't have to convince me. I'm not a politician. All right? Trust me. Yeah, right, trust me. But I'm not. The only reason I'm on the board is for the students and their parents and the teachers and the administrators. But you have to talk to everybody. All right, Dr. Mason will be at Shepherd Park Library on the 19th of February. Next Tuesday, I believe it is. No, yeah, next Tuesday, to talk about education to anybody that wants to come. All right, but you have to spread the word, because I'm teaching now, and the product that UDC has, it's a little different than it was when UDC was, anybody could go to UDC with a diploma, all right? Now there's you have to have certain qualifications to get here, but my students, I teach English, my students are fabulous. Freshmen, I'm teaching freshmen, and they're writing their fingers off, but they're really good, all right? And the product is fabulous. And how many of you graduated from UDC? Okay, so talk to them, all right? Because I taught at night for 35 years. And so my students at night were working all day.
Yep.
And they all came to class with the same goal. It wasn't like teaching in high school. If I taught 25 students at high school, there were 25 goals. But everybody at UDC had the same goal. They wanted to graduate from UDC so they get a better job, make more money, take care of their family, whatever it was. And that's what we provide here, so that they can buy that house, because that's really a problem. So, you need to talk, but the more education you have, the better your house is. Guaranteed. Sorry, I'm not running.
That's okay. We know you're not a politician. But he makes a good point. We serve everybody, the entire community of the District of Columbia, and we serve them all well and provide what they need. If you need any proof of that, just before you leave, grab one of these young people. Talk to them about their experience. If they tell you the truth, they're going to tell you it hasn't been perfect. They'll probably tell you that we're still working on financial aid and we're still working on admissions and the elevators still don't work quite right. And that the classrooms are cold in the winter and hot in the summer. But that's what we're trying to fix. That's exactly what the plan talks about. And if the plan happens, and you all can talk to the mayor too, you'll see a different type of institution over time. And what's more important is that the value of their degree will increase over time. So this is important work. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, Angela Bradbury, ANC 3C06. First of all, thank you so much for having this. It's really informative and I've enjoyed it. Can you elaborate a little bit about your Wi-Fi issues and kind of what they are, what you think needs to be done to fix it, how much it would cost, and whether you've explored any corporate donations to help fix it?
Sure. Well, I'm not a technician, but I'll tell you what I've been told. And if you need more, I'm trying to see if he's gone already. Well, the guy that knows is gone. But here, first of all, we have very old servers, and they're all housed in a very old building, with very bad power sources. And so when the power goes out, the servers overheat and it goes down and the whole thing shuts down, right? Now we have been able to save our email because we put that in the cloud, right? But in addition to the servers, the fiber is inadequate, right? And then the Wi-Fi distribution system is inadequate. And this is me translating it into the way I understand it, right? And so of the first year money we got, we put the one-time money, we put 4.7 to work with Ellucian to redo our infrastructure, right? New servers, new fiber, whatever else is involved in that process. With the personnel side, if we get some money, we have maybe 4 people on our user desk, maybe 6, to serve 5 campuses. So we need to enhance the people involved as well. Now, as far as donations are concerned, I haven't seen a whole lot of willingness to give us anything, either equipment or dollars to help pay for it. But if you got any leads, point me in the right direction and I'll go get it. So I don't know if I answered your question in detail enough, but basically we need a whole new system.
I could actually help you answer that. I could.
Well, I'm not gonna call on you right now. Thanks. She's an English professor. But you want to say something else?
I was just going to note that right now a number of carriers, like Verizon and others, are asking the city for the capability of putting in a 5G network, and it involves kind of agreements between the city and the carriers, and it might be worth asking if the city could require the carriers to help out UDC as long as they're getting the benefit of putting these small cell technologies all over the city, which is what they're going to do.
That's a good thought. Make a note. By the way, I need to tell you all we're live streaming. So even though there are, 20 people here, at last check, I think we had 1,500, something like that online, right? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Keebler, 3F02. President Mason and I know each other quite well because my single member district is right across the street, and I've been a real pest. That aside, you just talked about some of the problems and challenges you have with the hardware for IT. And I think that's a great suggestion, by the way, whoever said that. But there's a software issue, and this is a communications issue. We've talked about it before. One of the things that I think would make our job as ANC reps and proponents for UDC, because I think everybody in this room wants to see your vision achieved. I want you to speak a little bit more later on about beyond the graduate degree, because I think some of the things that you've spoken about, postgraduate work, is amazing. That would make our job easier, besides writing letters of resolution, is for UDC to improve their communications so that people, when they go online and on your website, can see what's in the city and what you're doing for the local communities and for the city at large. President Mason, we need that help. Because if people saw that, they would be amazed. So.
Fantastic. So we just redid the website. I don't know if you've seen the latest version. And I think it's a really vast improvement. And we are getting our communications act together. But it's really all tied to the resources we have to work with, right? So if you're getting, if other institutions are getting 5.5% of the budget and we're getting 1.1% and have been getting that over time, it does some damage. So be patient, because our goal is a little progress every day. And I think so far we've been, keeping that promise. But we will get better. Now on the postgraduate stuff, there's a couple of things I can mention. One, I don't know if you all were here when we announced the Institute for Policy, Politics, and History of UDC. At UDC, where former Mayor Sharon Pratt is putting together a national institute to focus on, the politics, policies, and history of the district, right? But it's tied to it's tied to the archives being located on campus here. So that we will be the repository of the past, present, and future of the District of Columbia, which is the nation's capital. So what we learn from that institute with fellows and speakers and everything else, will have application nationwide. We also just had our first 2 PhD programs approved. One in computer science and engineering, which has already gotten 12 candidates in the last 2 years. And the second, which is really exciting, in urban leadership and entrepreneurship, which will have tracks in education, urban sustainability, politics, and public administration. It's going to be a really neat program that's going to produce urban leaders to fulfill our responsibility for claiming the urban space. So there's a lot going on. I could keep talking, but it doesn't do any good because it's not on the website, is your point. But it'll be there. It'll be there. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Anybody else? Anybody from Cyberland? Are we taking questions that way or not? No?
They can log on and ask.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Okay, so just to kind of help to answer your question as to what's the issue. Okay, so yes, I'm an English professor, but these days, being an English professor is not just about teaching writing. These days, it really is about digital humanities. We're moving from analog to digital, and if you're not prepared to do that, you're pretty much dead in the water. And that includes, we think of digital as just being something about social media. That's just a small piece of it. We're supposed to be hosting an archive center. Much of that will be digital. And so what that means is that every single time you go on a website and you're clicking on something small and it expands into something much bigger, we are moving into an age in which if we call ourselves delivering education, you really do need to have a kind of space, virtually, bites, that kind of thing. You really need to have that. And the technology that's on this campus right now is far too old, far too small. And I'm looking at projects that I'd like to go ahead and get money for from NEH, but I can tell you right now, we can't do anything like what you see at University of Maryland, GMU, or any other place, because quite frankly, we just don't have what we really need. There are dead spots on this campus right now when it comes to trying to get access web-wise. And so I would say that maybe we all need to have some kind of working group on building that kind of funding, and maybe we need to start looking to Silicon Valley. Maybe even ask Bezos and think about something other than what he's currently going through, and help us to basically update and really get into the 21st century. I don't know if that helps you. Okay.
And by the way, I have asked Bezos, just so you all know. He hasn't answered yet, but hope springs eternal. Anybody else? Your universe. Any students got any questions by any chance? I guess you all hear this all the time, so. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm a student, and I was hoping you could expand a little bit on the new procedures for public policy and history, I believe you said. Looking through the current curriculum, the college does not offer foreign language on campus, and it also doesn't offer history. It offers like history of DC, Black history, but it also doesn't offer world history. expansions of history, European history, and so I was hoping you could talk about that and what that looks like.
I can. So the Institute is actually not yet tied to the undergraduate student? To the undergraduate curriculum. It's more in the nature of graduate fellows and national experts who will be speakers that will have sessions that the students can attend. But your other question, though, is a lesson that I think is worth talking about. And let me get at it this way. So everybody, most of you people know about the control board, right? When it came through in early 90s, I guess. And what they did was they reset the future of the district, and the way they started that process was to basically cut most of the government budgets. And since then, they've been reclaiming all of those major institutions. So you can see we have a new library system, which is state of the art. We have new public school buildings, the parks and recreation system, state of the art. What they did at UDC was cut the budget in half. In fact, they tried to close the campus, and the only thing that stopped them was they found out that the federal government owned the buildings. And this was after students marched in the streets, and you can look at the books and see the pictures. But when they couldn't close the campus, they cut the budget in half, and a lot of the programs got lost. And because the programs got lost, the enrollment went from something like 12,000 to 5,000 over a very few years. And that started to feed on itself, so that in 2010 or 12, the council actually required the school to cut its budget again. And when that happened, the history major went away, foreign languages went away, you follow me? And so, now thank goodness we have the consortium with other universities, which allows students to take classes other schools, right, if we don't offer it here and they need it. And if you don't know about that, we can give you the information on that. But part of what we're trying to do is rebuild what was lost since the days of the control board. Because even the chair of the control board recently said, you know, of all the things that she regretted the cut she made to UDC because she thought they were in hindsight, they were much too deep. So in a lot of ways, as Firebirds, we should be really proud, you know, that we're still here. And that we're still in the game, and that we're still making progress. But, you know, given the mayor's announcement last year and then beginning this year, I think we're more than just back in the game. I think there's a commitment now for us to reclaim our role and responsibility as the public institution in and for the nation's capital. Okay? And if I can help you on an individual basis, you know, have you talked to your counselors and your advisors and so forth about how to package what you need?
Yes, I asked this more for just the general concern for the campus, the consortium isn't actually, they don't advise it or hesitate to advise it for the students. I think there's a lot of resource issues around that. But otherwise, I would just hope that that's in your realm of knowledge for
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Especially history. I'm a history major. And so I hear about that all the time, and it never leaves my memory bank. Stick with us. And again, we have well, that's okay. We'll talk to me if you need to. Yeah, Sarah, come on.
I came here, I wouldn't say anything. I had a conversation this afternoon, and UDC was in passing because I said I had to be here. One of the things, the person that I was speaking to, the minute I said UDC, she frowned. I explained to her that I had just recently attended the launch for the Institute. Her frown changed, it's more positive. When I had mentioned that the plan was to house the archive here for the city, she got a smile, okay? because I think the current archives are Naylor Court. Some, yeah, but anyway, I understand consolidation. So I am old enough to know back when you had to teach yourself certain things because the resource wasn't available, okay? I learned how to type on an Underwood typewriter. Most of you have no clue about what an Underwood is. But if you're old enough, you would. I learned when we had typing classes in school, males didn't attend typing classes. 4 of us did, okay? That was the launch to learning how computer science, before there was computer science. My point to you, I know you need the resources, and I have no doubt in my mind if Madam Mayor does what she's supposed to do, you will get them. You may not get them in the amounts that you want, but you may get more than you expect. And in fact, we should all demand that she live up to her vision that she espoused for her second term. So hold her accountable. Don't just be idle words. The bottom line and the last thing is that we have learned how to squeeze blood from a turnip or from a rock. So using that creativity, take the resources you have, because there are ways to extend them and make them expand and show people, if we had this, we could do this. This is what we have done with nothing. And that's how you sell it to the folks who hold the money.
Well, that's how we have sold it. To be honest with you, look, despite all of the challenges I mentioned to you, we don't make excuses for the job that we do. And the proof is in the product. You know, our students represent us, and we're very proud of them wherever they go and whatever they do. Because, you know, they win competitions, they speak well, they present well, they critically think, and they get jobs. You know, I'm not saying that we're waiting for the mayor's money for us to be able to do what we need to do, but they are our students, and because we care for our students, we want to give them the best opportunity we can. And resources help, that's just the truth of it. So there's that, right? But there was a little more in your story there. One, about the frown, right? And so we did some focus groups recently to see what our challenges were, right? And it turned out that the students themselves, the younger people, really were pretty high on UDC. They just didn't know that much about it. But when you talked about being able to graduate from college without debt hanging around your neck, and when you talked about accessibility and location in the District of Columbia, those are things we can sell to anybody, anytime, right? But it was the parents. It was the parents who remembered the old UDC that were the ones telling their children, think twice before you go to that school. And so, you know, it's the history and reputation more than the reality that is our biggest challenge here. So I get that, right? And then the last piece, you know, I'm positive about the mayor. I do think she gets it. I think she's claimed the university. But, you know, everybody's nipping at this budget. I mean, you need to go to some of these sessions, right? She puts out a pie and she says, now divide it up for me. You know, what percentage goes to this, what percentage goes to that? And I encourage you all to go to those sessions and sit at those tables and fight for a big piece of the pie for education, especially higher education. Because she pays attention, she listens to it, but she also has to respond to her constituents. And so, you know, we got to do our job to give her the support she needs to support us. Fair enough? Cool. All right? Anybody else? Y'all ready to go, right? You hungry? Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once? Come on.
So I don't really have a question, I just have a statement. My name is Nakia Wilson, and I'm the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I just wanted to end on investing in UDC will be investing in a beacon of education that will give returns to the DC community in multiple ways. By students receiving degrees, then working in the community. After they work in the community, they'll start their lives and they'll raise families, and then you'll have more entrepreneurs in the community. And yeah, I just wanted to say that I came to UDC because UDC is very affordable and it's quality education, so I just would really love to see more investing within the UDC community.
Fantastic. We'll take that as an endorsement that we can carry to the Wilson Building. Okay, anybody else? You want to say something? Don't say your title. Okay, go ahead. This is a very important person at the university. I'm not going to tell you her
Even
title.
though I have many roles, I'm speaking as a resident of the District of Columbia, Ward 5, and an alum, double alum. In my neighborhood, there are many young men and women who roam the street, who are just doing nothing. And I talk to them and I say, you need to come to UDC. But when, they are media addicts. And when I look at TV, all I see is Queen Latifah, this one, and somebody else, but I don't see anything about UDC. Can you address how we can increase our media coverage?
Increase our media coverage or increase our media presence? Okay, so we have, we're about to roll out a brand new marketing plan and strategy. We put money into it. We've taken our time though, because I don't believe in selling something you can't deliver on. And I think we're at the point now where we can start to deliver on things that we promise and sell publicly. So it's coming. I think the new website was the start. I don't know if you've seen it, but you ought to check it out. It's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. But that's just the beginning of a whole social media presence. And then you'll see some advertisements. I don't know if you're going to see as much of us as you see of, what is it, UMUC?
Right. Strayer.
You know, and Strayer, yeah. Well, they've kind of worn me out personally, right? But you'll see us start to creep up on them, slowly but surely. And again, it's all tied to resources, so we put what we can into that budget. But as the resources come in and the revenue starts to pick up, and enrollment starts to stabilize and more students start coming here, I think you'll be able to see more and more as time goes by. You're going to play something, JR? Oh, just put up the website. udc.edu. Good looking crew, right? That's your first time seeing it? No, okay. And then you go down. There's a little thing on there. Keep going. Let me show you something. Schools and colleges. Keep going. Keep going. If you want to know my view of the challenges of producing talent in America, go click on this interview and tell me what you think. Kind of lays it out. Okay? There's the Institute for Policy, STEAM Symposium. We'll scroll it over a little bit. We have Maxine Waters coming as speaker at the Founders Day, February 21st. We have a lot of folks getting awards. One is Jim and Susan Clifton, who run the Gallup organization. They gave us $1 million to start the Capitol Builders Center. Is that it, Jay? Let's see. Founders Day, and we're a Pepsi campus now. Thanks to Mr. Stovall and his crew over here. They got Pepsi all over the place, and we don't allow Coke cans on our campus. Yes, we have, she's here today. Who is that?
Dolores.
Where's our Pepsi rep? There she is. That was part of the deal. Okay, folks, anything else? Anything else? Going once? Now remember, if you want me to visit your ANC, just let us know. I'm there, right? We'll be contacting you electronically with the sample resolutions. We have, is that the third-year report? We have the 3-year report, which will show you all the things that we've done to prove that we're worthy of further investment and that we're good stewards of public funds. It's actually quite a lot of stuff in there. Sorry? And it's on the website. And you'd be amazed how many rankings UDC has in the top 10 in areas that count. You know, like affordability, like accessibility. Number 10 HBCU according to Wall Street Journal. So there's more going on here than most people realize, but we're going to make sure they start to realize. Right, guys? Good. Okay. Thank y'all very much. Thank you for coming. Enjoyed having you. Thank you out there in Cyberland.